Spend way too much money on anime chess? Ah, I see, I see. 'Hell yeah. '30-month mod anniversary, Matt! Let's go! Aura! It was funny, the reactor I watched made a bingo board and he said, well, the Kingdom Hearts is a freebie, and oh man, the direct today. I had a minor freak out with the Xenoblade High School game. Hello everyone! Welcome on in to the stream! We are so close to the end of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. I don't know if we're gonna finish it today. I'm not sure. I'll play as much as I'm able to today. I can't stream very long. But if we don't, we'll finish it tomorrow. But man, the end. It's almost here. The resolve of Renosuke Naruhodo. Not the end. I know. We got a whole lineup. We got Mikotoba, Gory, Barrack Van Zeeks. So witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Yujin Mikotoba. Lecturer in Forensic Medicine at the Imperial Yamai University in Tokyo, Japan. Also, a sequel to the Game of the Year 2023 was announced on Sunday, leaked a few days before. Cassette Beast 2002. And Professor Mikotoba, the young lady beside you is... Oh, this is Dr. Maria Gory, Scotland Yard's practicing coroner. The daughter of Dr. Scythe, I understand. Yes, Dr. Scythe. I'm afraid I can't tell you why she's here. She just appeared. I was gonna make a joke. I was gonna make a joke saying that, but he beat me to it. She just appeared. She does that. She just shows up.
You summoned this strange Japanese man as a witness to that autopsy. But you don't summon Mama. That makes no sense. She was there too.
That's about the size of it. Well, she's in prison, so... I've had her eyes boring into the side of my cheek constantly, whilst I was in the antechamber too. Poor man. The idea of it's making me shudder. The revelation about Dr. Scythe that came to light some days ago defiled the reputation of the entire judiciary. She was therefore deemed unfit to appear as a witness in today's proceedings. Renosuke and Mikotoba are weak. The Ministry of Justice's decision on that is final. Well, we wouldn't want any more perjury to be committed, would we? Oh, I'm sure that's never gonna be an issue ever in the future. Ever. Witnesses committing perjury? Please. Ministry of Justice? Some questionable strings are being pulled, I think. I remember you, Dr. Mikotoba. But I certainly never expected to be meeting you under these circumstances. Yes, it's been a long while, Lord Strongheart. I like how Maria's just constantly, like, turned and staring at him. The prosecution understands that you were a visiting student of forensic science in London until 10 years ago. She's the best two-case character. That's right. I studied under Dr. Wilson at St. Sinners. So, you were present at the autopsy of my brother, Lord Clint Van Zeeks. I was, yes. I assisted Dr. Wilson with the entire procedure.
Mama is far more skilled than any Japanese man.
Well, Dr. Wilson asked me to be his primary assistant on that occasion. And this autopsy report was actually penned by you, I believe? Yes, I noted all the doctor's findings, and when we were done, he read through the document and signed it.
Poor Mama. As a secondary assistant, she wouldn't have had such a good view of all the innards.
So, Professor, do you remember Inspector Gregson? Yes, of course. It was me who killed him after all. If it wasn't for his insistence, Lord Van Zeeks' autopsy would never have happened. But he was absolutely convinced that it would reveal decisive evidence against Gentian, you see. So Lord Strongheart had to entreat the nobility to allow it to take place. He and my then boy best friend were frequent rivals. Do correct me if I'm wrong, my lord. It was as a result of that autopsy that a mass murderer was apprehended and justice was done. Ah! But Gregson admitted it before he was killed. He admitted that the results of the autopsy were fabricated. Ooh. You were there at the time, so you must testify. You have an obligation to tell the truth about what really happened, what really went on. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. Absolutely. That's precisely why I'm here.
And that's why I'm here too.
Very well then. You will give your formal testimony now, witness. But before you begin, a word of warning. Oh. You will state truthfully and accurately what you saw and what you heard at the time. I wouldn't dream of doing otherwise, my lord. The moment your testimony verges on supposition, I will expel you from my courtroom. Uh-oh. remember that. Alright, the autopsy of Clint Van Zieks. From my own observations, I couldn't say there was any indication of that autopsy results having been fabricated. Death resulted from a wound made by a Western-style sword transfixing the heart. That I found a little strange. A Western-style sword. That's interesting.
There were no other signs of internal injury. Nothing questionable at all.
You... girl!
It was just that beautiful but dangerous piece of evidence removed from the man's stomach.
Presumed to have been swallowed by the victim as a way of posthumously identifying his assailant. That's nuts, by the way! That's nuts. Alright, what is it? Well, what did they find? No indication. Nothing to suggest fabrication. Professor Mikatoba, are you certain about that? Well, nothing that I could positively identify as such, much less swear to in testimony. Yeah, keep evil laughing, dude. That's gonna clear your name. Well, that clears up things nicely. The only fabrication here, Asagi, has come from you. Seeing the judge super against the prosecutor is so interesting. What? You claim the inspector confessed just before his death, but that is the fabrication. No, he freely acknowledged it, I swear he did. Freely, with the tip of a sword at his throat. The man was clearly at his wit's end. That's a fair argument. The court will give no credence to this confession that was uttered in obvious desperation. That's fair. Quite simply, there was nothing questionable about the investigation of Lord Clint Van Zieks' death. I do have some questions, though. About him swallowing a piece of evidence? And with this testimony we have, without question, uncovered the whole truth of the matter. If I may, my lord. There was most certainly something questionable about it, and the whole truth does rather elude us, I feel. I beg your pardon. Well, you're obviously aware of the facts of the case. All 4 of the professor's previous victims died when an enormous beast was set upon them that ripped out their throats. Ugh. Oh, I hate that.
Oh, such horrifying crimes.
Oh, that's so gross. But curiously, the killer's last victim, Lord Clint Van Zieks, suffered a different fate. Yes, you're right.
He was stabbed to the heart with a sword.
That's enough. I believe I warned you about this, witness. I promise to curtail your testimony as soon as it entered the realms of supposition or speculation. Very well, my lord. In that case, the defense will pursue a conclusion to this during the cross-examination. I will be the speculative one. What? It's my right. I have a right to cross-examine. I have the right to cross-examine every witness after testimony. You go, Renosuke. And I fully intend to exercise that right. Yes, you do, Bib. Get it. Renosuke.
I'm afraid that even the presiding judge has no authority to contravene the letter of the law.
Get him, Susano.
As I'm sure every member of the judiciary present in the gallery would agree.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Ah, I thought they were gonna go, yeah, we want to hear it. There it is. Very well. You may begin, counsel. However, the moment your argument strays from the established fact, I will not hesitate to bring the cross-examination to an end. Proceed with caution. Yes, my lord. The autopsy of Clint Van Seeks. Okay, I want to talk, I want to get through all those and get to the thing Maria said. There were no other signs of internal injury, nothing questionable at all. It was just that beautiful but dangerous piece of evidence removed from the man's stomach. What is the evidence?
Hold it!
What exactly was it, though? What does beautiful but dangerous mean?
Well, it was sparkly and round, with a hole, as if it might slip over a finger, perhaps.
A ring? It was a ring. Okay. Belonging to Genshin Asagi. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like he was framed. Because what? That was the most, like, planted piece of evidence you could have said. My father's ring was inside the victim's stomach? That's so gross. At the time, Genshin wore a large ring on the digitus quartus of his left hand, the fourth, or ring finger. I'd understood it was some sort of keepsake. When my father left Japan for London 16 years ago, I was 8 years old. But I remember that ring. You do? My father's possessions were sent to our family home in Japan after his death, but the ring wasn't among them. Obviously not, it was a key piece of evidence. It remains under lock and key in the stores at Scotland Yard to this day. After the autopsy, Genshin was summoned by the police to check for the presence of his ring. It wasn't on his hand, of course. Moreover, there were deep abrasions on his finger where it had been pulled off. Ugh. Ew. Ew, I hate that. They arrested the man there and then, right before my eyes. How could they?
Are you stupid? I brought the ring along with me today.
What?
Here it is, a bit dusty from years in the stores.
Good gracious, yes, that's it. I haven't seen that in 10 long years. Oh, imagine swallowing that. Ew. So jagged. And that was found inside the victim's stomach? Yes, I'm afraid so. You hesitated there, Professor Mikatoba. Should we read something into that? Well, it's just that thinking back now. I didn't actually witness the moment it was extracted from the victim's body. There's the fabrication. Okay. I'd say he's...
Oh my! Really?
At that precise moment, Dr. Wilson had asked me to fetch him a new scalpel, you see. Oh, how convenient. Dr. Golry. The removal of historic evidence from the stores requires my consent, does it not? So, working theory, Wilson helped with the fabrication, and the reason he was sent to be assassinated was because he knew about the fabrication. And wanted to get him gone before that could be revealed in the future. The removal of historic evidence from the stores requires my consent, does it not? However it came to be here, the court cannot deny that this is crucial evidence for today's proceedings. Very well. You may submit it. I swear the smoking gun was in the victim's Fram Jab's purse. A ring belonging to Gentian Osugi found in Lord Clint Van Zeek's stomach during the autopsy. The claws clasping the gem looks sharp enough to cause a very nasty scratch. Okay! It's not the sort of ring normally seen in Japan. They almost look like claws protecting that jewel. Yeah, they probably cut up his throat. These fat claws are doing a good job of protecting the equally fat gemstone in the middle of this ring.
Yes, if you were clumsy, you could give yourself a rather nasty cut on them, I should think.
Ow. Now my finger's bleeding. The claws really are sharp. Okay.
Oh my, that was very quick clumsiness, Mr. Naruhodo. Even for you.
It would make such a dangerous ring. You couldn't swallow it without doing yourself some fairly serious damage, surely. Okay!
A sticky mochi bun about that size would go down much better, with some red bean paste in the middle.
Okay, Susato, we're getting a little off topic. Someone as clumsy as me would probably manage to choke on it somehow. Okay.
We must examine it very carefully, Mr. Naruhodo.
Very carefully indeed. I already did it. I already did it, Susato. I was one step ahead of you. Okay, hold on. Presumed to have been swallowed by the victim as a way of posthumously identifying his assailant. Okay, what did she say? There were no other signs of internal injury, nothing questionable at all. With the ring like that going down his throat, his throat wasn't cut up at all. So it was never... he never swallowed it. Susato wants to think of bean paste again.
Objection!
Okay, beautiful. The court has heard that ring was extracted from the victim's stomach. But you didn't actually see it being removed, did you, Professor Migatoba? That's right. As I said in my testimony before, at that moment I was fetching a replacement scalpel that Dr. Wilson had requested. In other words, you can neither confirm nor deny whether this ring in fact really came from the victim's stomach or not. What are you suggesting, counsel? Let me talk. That the ring was never in the victim's stomach to begin with. It's entirely feasible that Dr. Wilson fabricated that detail about the autopsy. What are you saying? That Dr. Wilson... Brother... Why are you, like, shocked about this? You're the one that was like, yeah, it's been fabricated. You're the one that brought this up. That Dr. Wilson was in possession of the ring in advance, after it was somehow stolen from Mr. Asagi. And he produced it during the procedure, pretending to have found it there and then in the victim's stomach.
Objection!
Van Zeeks, please. Supposition at best. What possible evidence do you have to support such a rash claim? This evidence, right here. That's the autopsy report. It's explicit in that report, counsel. Other than the ring, nothing unusual was noted internally, so I'm not sure how you intend to prove your point. Are you stupid? You've already done it for me, my lord. The lack of internal injuries says it all. What? To swallow a ring of this size would require considerable effort and determination. Yeah. And in addition to its size, there are the sharp claws around the gemstone to contend with. My brother was a determined man, and on the brink of death even more so, I'm sure. Okay, but his throat isn't. I, Gil Teague, am going to say that the autopsy report doesn't say anything at all. He would have stopped at nothing to ensure that evil killer was brought to justice. But if he really had swallowed that enormous ring, it's inconceivable that no traces of its passage down his throat would have remained as internal trauma. No. And there you've arrived at the sticking point. That's precisely why I had my doubts about the finding myself 10 years ago. Then why didn't you say something at the time? I did. I still remember the conversation I had with Dr. Wilson in the laboratory that day. Ooh. Look at this! Now, this is a very curious thing to find in a man's stomach, wouldn't you say? But isn't that rather peculiar, Dr. Wilson? What's that now, Mikatoba? Well, if he swallowed a ring of that size with those sharp metal claws that it has, surely you'd expect to see damage to the throat and esophagus, torn mucous membranes at the very least. Dr. Mikatoba, may I remind you that I have vastly more experience than you. Damn, Wilson. I'm terribly sorry. I could think of plenty of ways to explain why no injuries would be seen. No, let's say this. The victim would appear to have ingested the item as evidence to identify his assailant. Oh, so this sounds like you're reading a script, Wilson. And also, can I hear the other ways you explain the no injuries? Go ahead, write it down. So I was right. Dr. Wilson deliberately fabricated the results of the autopsy to implicate my father. Nuh-uh. I'm disappointed, Counsel. That argument is nothing more than speculation. Brother! What? Dr. Wilson was Britain's leading authority on forensic science and autopsy work. There is no scientific basis on which to doubt the man's expert opinion, unless he was, like, blackmailed or something. Pardon the interruption, my lord, but damage to the mucous membranes of the throat is easily identified even in living subjects.
Using a device called an endoscope, recently demonstrated in practical use in France. I want one. The government can pay.
I don't think so. No! How dare you suggest we do things properly? And Dr. Gory, rest assured that your removal of evidence from the stores without permission will not go unpunished. Oh.
We open up the dead to find the truth.
Get him, Gory. I beg your pardon.
But Mama, she chose to stitch her corpses up with all her secrets inside. That's wrong.
Dr. Gory, it's looking as though she's chosen to walk a different path to her mama. Good. I'm glad. Yes, the ring. What about the ring? I've just remembered something. An earlier incident. What incident? The one I recounted to you before, about a memory I have. Of Genshin Asagi saving my life. What? My father saved your life? It was 10 years ago, on a foggy night. Genshin and I were walking down some back streets at a late hour. All of a sudden, "Don't make a peep! You're coming with us!" All of our assailants were armed with pistols, their faces obscured by scarves. The next thing I knew, there was silence all around. Genshin lay on the cobbled street. Blood was seeping from his left hand. He'd shielded me. Left hand. It was on the ring finger of his left hand that he used to wear that ring. Huh. Are you saying... I've always believed those thugs were after me. But now I'm starting to question if perhaps I wasn't the intended target after all. Oh. Wait, but... Genshin was arrested 2 days after that attack. Oh. And in that short interval, the decisive evidence needed to indict him was miraculously found. You mean the ring was stolen from him? You think that's what those thugs were after that night?
Objection!
Kazuma. You pathetic coward. You expect me to believe that you weren't involved? What do you mean by that? Oh, it was you, wasn't it? You're the one who took it. You stole my father's ring. You set the whole thing up so you could paint him as a mass murderer, have him arrested. I don't think he did. Kazuma. Open your eyes. Renosuke? You must know deep down. The truth can be completely obscured, even when your judgment is only slightly clouded. But at the moment, you seem to be floundering through a dense fog. Is that why you were so insistent I should be present in this trial? To see you like this? You joined the show, Strongheart. Well, this is an amusing spectacle. What a grandiose expression on your face, as if you were Lady Justice herself. It seems you've thoroughly convinced yourself of this alleged fabrication of the autopsy results. So much so that you're apparently blind to the blatant contradiction that would be born out of it. What? Though it's extremely hard to believe, let us imagine that there was some misconduct during the autopsy. If that were the case, why would Asagi not have disputed the findings in his trial? He must have been... Also, same thing that was going on with everyone else involved, I'm guessing. Some kind of blackmail. Oh. In the closed court hearing 10 years ago, the defendant never once denied the claims against him. Isn't that right, Lord Van Zeeks? Yes, that is indeed correct. Upon hearing the verdict of guilty, he merely closed his eyes, quietly accepting the judgment. The actions of a man who has accepted responsibility for his deeds and is resigned to his fate. But then...
Oh my, that is very strange.
Kazuma, why was your dad weird?
If Mr. Asagi did nothing to oppose the charges against him, then... that would surely mean there was no fabricated evidence.
No, Susato, no. An obvious conclusion at which you should have arrived many minutes ago, Prosecutor Asagi. Your twisted loyalty and clouded judgment are hampering your ability for logical thought. Genshin Asagi's silence at his hearing can mean only one thing. There was no fabrication of evidence during the autopsy of his final victim 10 years ago. But if that autopsy was all above board, there would be nothing to stop Lord Strongheart bringing this trial to an immediate conclusion.
Objection!
Kazuma. Thank you, Renosuke. If it wasn't for your frank words just now, this trial may very well have ended prematurely. Kazuma? What's this latest absurdity, Counsel? My lord, your reasoning is perfectly sound, but for one giant hole, I beg your pardon. You claim my father's silence was due to the fact that there was no fabricated evidence. But there's another possible explanation. Yeah, he was being blackmailed or something. You've overlooked the possibility that he had a reason for maintaining that silence. Yes!
Objection!
Van Zieks, come on. Silence that would lead him to being convicted and sent to his own death. If the autopsy results were an invention, there's no conceivable reason why the man wouldn't have protested. Okay, but also, he was also chill with it because he was literally, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, he escaped his execution. He was working with somebody in the prison. So I bet that was planned beforehand. If the autopsy results were an invention, there's no conceivable reason why the man wouldn't have protested.
Objection!
Oh, those results were an invention, alright. There's no question of that. Or are you forgetting that 2 people with a connection to that autopsy have been assassinated? If I force the grievances I feel from my mind, I start to see you in a very different light. I think perhaps it's you who's been living in delusion these 10 years. Me.
Sama-sama has created one last chance for us here, Mr. Naruhodo. If we can only show there was a reason for his father's silence in his trial.
A reason why the man would have said nothing even though he was innocent? Could it have been part of some negotiation, perhaps? There it is! He was working with somebody. Like, okay, you say that you're the professor and we'll get you out of there anyway. We'll let you get out of the execution, we'll pretend it happened. That way the people stop fearing the professor and you get to go on scot-free back to your son. Enough rhetoric. The court must be shown evidence. What proof do you have that could possibly explain Asagi's silence in court? I guess the dismissal notice, unless there's something else that I'm forgetting. We have so much evidence, oh my god. Maybe the Asagi papers too? I, Genshin Asagi, hereby request that upon my death, any and all material possessions and wealth belonging to me in London be delivered to my son Kazuma Asagi in the Emperor of Japan. It is with deep sadness that I accept my fate in this foreign land, in the knowledge that I'll never see my homeland or family again, but I regret nothing about my chosen path. Maybe that. It's one of those two, I think. I'm gonna save. Let's go with this first.
Take that!
Okay. It's true that Genshin Asagi's silence during his trial resulted in his conviction. But that didn't actually lead to his execution. On the contrary, it led to his escape. An escape that was only possible because he'd been sentenced to death. Although I find it hard to believe my father would have negotiated in that way, the defense is correct. A fake execution, falsification of a death certificate, and a jailbreak inside a cult. Clearly such an elaborate plan couldn't have been carried out by my father alone. He must have had the help of a collaborator from the judiciary. I have here the dismissal notice of the chief warder who was working in the prison at the time. The notes read, "There are indications that the jailbreak was in planning prior to the inmate's incarceration." In other words, there were suggestions of some sort of negotiation between Mr. Asagi and the British government. In exchange for his silence in court, he was given an assurance that he would be broken out of prison. Yes, with that sort of clandestine agreement in place, I can imagine he would have kept very silent. I would go further than that, in fact. I would say that the elaborate jailbreak of Mr. Asagi can be explained in no other way. Order, order! First fabricated evidence and now a jailbreak conspiracy. Of course, because it's all intimately linked. Everything's linked. The prosecution wishes to summon in new witnesses to the stand. Witnesses. People who can testify about the jailbreak that took place 10 years ago. Mr. Vigil and what's his name? Kaiden, yeah. I imagine it's gonna be them. I don't see, unless it's new people, but
Governor Kaiden?
okay. And the poor chief warden of the prison? Okay, nailed it. I'm a genius. I won't allow this trial to turn into a farce, to summon the governor of the prison after all these years. Okay, but we're covering a case that happened years ago. So why wouldn't we bring in people from years ago? That makes no sense. Oh, it wouldn't be any trouble, my lord. What?
Father?
My dear friend may appear a little rattle-pated at times, but I can assure you he is extremely thorough. He wired both Barclay and the local prison earlier. Let's go! Asking Governor Kaiden and Mr. Vigil to attend the Old Bailey as a matter of extreme urgency. Let's go! Mr. Sholmes did that? Oh my gosh, I love Sholmes. Are you telling me that? Sholmes has been playing the long game, which is now in the end game. Sholmes is like, I've been waiting for this. Are you telling me that? Both men are, unless I'm much mistaken, waiting just outside the courtroom at this very moment. Sholmes not playing games. No, he not. Let's go. He said no more games. My lord, you must permit this trial to proceed as you declared at its outset. We promised that we would stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. No games now. Very well. Bring in the witnesses. Make no mistake, I too would like nothing more than to lay this business to rest once and for all. Van Zeeks too. Would the new witnesses state their names and occupations for the court, please? I, Barry Kaiden, Governor of Barclay Prison. Everyone... no, I was giggling, I didn't read his line. Everyone calls me gossip. I sell jaunty little tidbits to passers-by. Your other persona, if you don't mind? Oh, I do beg your pardon. Of course. My name is Daily Vigil. I used to be the chief warder at Barclay Prison. The reason you've been summoned here to court today is to testify about the jailbreak of the so-called professor 10 years ago. Losh, the professor? We've already been through all this before, a decade ago. And the conclusion was that there wasn't anything untoward happened. A convict escaped from your prison, Governor. Hardly what you'd call nothing untoward. Well. The convict's death certificate was somehow falsified after he was allegedly executed. And he escaped the prison inside his own coffin. A plan of that complexity could never have been carried out without the help of somebody of influence inside the prison. Governor Kaiden, don't imagine that the passage of time will afford you any protection. If it turns out that you were involved in the plot to break Mr. Asagi out of your prison, then of course, the consequences will be very serious. In all likelihood, a capital punishment. Gods, hold on there, laddie. All I did was... Witness. Governor Kaiden. Aye, sir. You have a critical role to play in the public safety of our country. A great responsibility to shoulder. The significance of your testimony in court cannot be understated. Therefore, think carefully before you speak. And Prosecutor Asagi, if you threaten the witness again, you'll be held in contempt of court. Oh my god. My apologies, my lord. There's no disputing the fact that an intricate jailbreak plot was enacted 10 years ago. Clearly, you were both involved in some way. So you will testify before the court now and explain exactly what took place. Very well. Let the witnesses give their formal testimony. Tell the court everything you know of the plot to break Asagi out of Barclay 10 years ago. The jailbreak plot. It was the day that Japanese joke was found guilty. The directive came from the prosecutor's office. Did it now? I signed the convict to the chief auditor vigil here and put the plan at the auction behind the scenes. I was responsible for Asagi right up until the night of his execution, but I knew nothing of any plot. I didn't ken if there were some negotiations between the convict and the prosecutor's office. All I did was carry out my duty for Her Majesty's Great British Empire. A directive from the prosecutor's office? Are you saying that was the jailbreak plot? Aye, that's right. Who sent it? Who authorized that plan? I didn't ken that. Of course, yeah, that'd be too easy if you knew. You're saying you don't know? I wonder if we know any prosecutors at that time, anybody who was perhaps a prosecutor during that time who would be responsible for something like that. You're saying you don't know? Listen, there was nae thing about that professor case that was nae unusual in some way. I didn't ask any questions. I just did what I was told to do. More than that, I couldn't tell you. I see. But if the jailbreak plot originated from the prosecutor's office, then one thing is very clear. As suspected, there were clandestine dealings going on between Mr. Asagi and that office. The jailbreak was promised in exchange for Mr. Asagi admitting to crimes he didn't commit. Yep. Don't you shake your head. That counsel is nothing more than speculation on your part. It's not. It's not. So, let me ask the defense. Oh, yes, my lord? I fail to see how these witnesses have any more pertinent information here. Do you intend to assert your right to a cross-examination? Absolutely. I have no intention of squandering a single opportunity, my lord. It seems all you Japanese are fiercely tenacious. Very well. Proceed, counsel. The jailbreak plot. Okay, the Japanese jock was found guilty, came from the prosecutor's office.
Hold it!
And you say you don't know who actually issued the directive? Aye, that's alright. All I can be sure of is that it was official. But if it was from the prosecutor's office, that narrows down who could have issued it straight away. I spent half of what you've done so far wondering if Strongheart was a red herring with how obvious he's been. And it wasn't me. How can I even say with certainty that it did originate from the prosecutor's office? What? There's no telling where it started. There's a fair chance it came from higher up the ladder. Basically. Can I give you any indication of who was behind it? Yeah, I figured. You can't be serious.
All we can say for sure is that the order must have come from somebody in authority, I suppose.
The likes of us on the ground, as it were. They may bother with idle speculation. We just get the job done. Okay. We assign the convict to the chief warder vigil here, but the plan and the action behind the scenes.
Hold it!
So, Mr. Vigil, you didn't know anything about it at all? That's right. My only role in this scheme was as a scapegoat. That's right, isn't it, Governor? Ooh. Some poor beggar had to take the rap for it. It's so tragic. Alright then, who else did know about the plan? I've no the first idea, laddie. My part in the whole business was basically just dealing with the aftermath. But I wouldn't be surprised if there were other folk in the prison service who had been given similar orders. So you don't know who else was involved. Aye, that's right. All I can tell you is that the night it actually happened, the person at the reins was Dr. Stevens. Dr. Courtney Stevens, or Dr. Scythe as she's known now. Why did I have to get caught up in such a terrible business? I was responsible for Oski right up until the night of his execution, but I do nothing of any plot. I believe he doesn't know. Then I can if there were some negotiations between the convict and the prosecutor's office. All I do is carry out my duty for Her Majesty's Great British Empire.
Hold it!
Did you carry out the plan in its entirety? I did everything I could at the time. As you know, Gentian Asagi was shot dead in Logate Cemetery after the escape. Tell me, was that part of the plan too? Oh, I doubt it was. My instructions were to do with getting the jock out of the jail and nothing more. Can I tell you anything about what happened after that? Only, personally, I believe his death was the last part of the plan. What does this all mean? That was cute. That was a cute little...
Excuse me!
Mr. Vigil, is something wrong? Yes, sir. What can I do for you, sir? He's saluting now? Oh, what is it, some sort of Barclay convention? What Governor Kaiden was just saying seemed to upset you. Did it bring something to mind, perhaps? For the last 10 years, I've completely blotted out the memories of that time from my mind. I was betrayed by my superiors in the name of my country. Ooh. Just as my father was betrayed, it seems. But you see, thinking back now, I really can't imagine that the shooting of Mr. Asagi in the cemetery was ever part of the plan. What makes you think that? Well, it just doesn't make any sense, does it? To make the man admit to crimes he didn't commit with the promise of a jailbreak, Only to kill him in the end? Yeah, that doesn't make sense. That's treachery of the worst kind. But the point is, if the intention was always to betray him, why would there be any need for all the chicaneries of an escape? Ah!
Yes, that's quite true.
If whoever negotiated with Asagi never intended to keep his or her end of the bargain, it would have been far simpler just to let the man be executed in prison, as dictated by his sentence. It all happened in that vast chamber of secrets that is at Barclay, behind the high prison walls. I suppose nobody knows what really went on in the execution room now. Yes, it's an unsettling mystery, certainly. Truth be told, there is a wee matter that's never quite made sense to me. If you believe there was some kind of negotiation behind the jailbreak between Asagi and the body at the top, it doesn't quite add up, does it? Governor Kaiden, I must insist that you explain these doubts that you have by amending your formal testimony. Gods. Aye, go on then. It seems to me that the Japanese fella didn't have nothing to bargain with. Didn't have anything to bargain with.
Hold it!
Admitting to the crimes, that was what he had to bargain with, surely? Can I say that to myself? After all, did the prosecution not have conclusive evidence against the Carly, eh? This, you mean? Discovered during the final victim's autopsy? There's every possibility this conclusive evidence was fabricated by Scotland Yard in the prosecutor's office.
Objection!
Possibilities are all very well, but nothing has been proven. You can holler about misconduct in the trial 10 years ago all you like. But if you can't establish that it happened with hard evidence, no one's going to listen. Oi, that's right. So what I'm saying is, the convict had nothing he could use for any kind of bargaining at all. The witness makes an astute point. Logically, it would seem no negotiation could have taken place. And yet the plan to break the man out of prison was definitely put into practice. So he must have been armed with something that gave him an angle to negotiate. Okay, so, let's think this through. When Asagi was sent to prison, he was allowed to keep all of his belongings. Like, pretty much. The only thing he wasn't allowed to have was pen and paper. Because what was it worded? I don't know. I don't remember how exactly it was worded. But, like, his words were, like, powerful. His words were his weapon. Right? Am I misremembering? So maybe it's the Asagi papers? So he must have been armed with something that gave him an angle to negotiate. Because I'm wondering if these are the real Asagi papers. That Mr. Vigil claims disappeared after the convict's execution. Apparently Mr. Asagi described it as the only weapon I have left. Yeah, okay. That is his weapon. I, Genshin Asagi, hereby request that upon my death, any and all material possessions and wealth belonging to me in London be delivered to my son Kazuma Asagi in the Empire of Japan. It is with deep sadness that I accept my fate in this foreign land and the knowledge that I will never see my homeland and family again, but I regret nothing about my chosen path. Like, I feel like, I don't know if there's the real papers. So I wonder if that's what we present there, because I can see we're at the end of the testimony now. So Asagi's son agreed to confess to the crimes because he was assured he'd be broken out of prison later.
I really don't think that Kazuma-sama's father would have engaged in such negotiations.
And perhaps something compelled him to agree?
What a terrible thing, using the law to legitimize such underhand dealings with a desperate man, only to double-cross him in the end. It's quite the opposite of justice.
I can't help feeling there's something about this apparent negotiation that doesn't quite add up.
Something doesn't quite add up, Mr. Naruhodo?
No, it doesn't, but I can't quite put my finger on what yet.
Well, in that case, we must keep digging until we identify the problem.
Okay. Oh. He didn't have anything to bargain with. I think he had something.
Objection!
Confessing under oath to murders he didn't commit on a verbal assurance of later being broken out of prison, Genshin Asugi was taking an incredibly risky gamble. Very true. There was nothing to stop the British breaking their word and executing him behind closed doors anyway. Under normal circumstances, no man would stake his life on a gentleman's agreement like that. I'm wondering if the actual Asugi papers were if he ended up dying anyway. The papers, like, revealed, like, who the actual, like, killer was or something. The actual professor. Wonder if Genshin knew. It's the only thing I could think of that he'd have as a bargaining chip. But, I don't know. Which means that Mr. Asugi must have had a trump card. Yeah, he had something. Something that guaranteed he wouldn't be betrayed. Some kind of weapon. Heavers, the fella couldn't possibly have had anything like that. But you know that he did, Governor. The Asugi Papers. The name given to the last will and testament of Genshin Asugi. It turns out that Mr. Asugi was hiding his will in his cell at Barclay. Chief Warder Vigil caught him with it one day. You scoiled the Jija, you wee rat! Did I not tell you to keep that a secret? You can't touch me now. When Mr. Vigil caught sight of that will through the bars of the convict's cell, Mr. Asugi pleaded with the warder. Alright then, but what's on that paper? A last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. A weapon? And after the convict had been killed, following the elaborate pretense of the jailbreak, that document mysteriously disappeared, didn't it? Well, yes. All the prison warders searched through the belongings in his cell, but that will was just nowhere to be found. As I understand it, an exhaustive search was made for the document, which became known as the Asugi Papers. Governor Kaiden, I believe you ordered your prison staff to find it at all costs, didn't you? Would I be right in saying that you knew? You knew that the so-called Asugi Papers had the potential to make great waves somehow? Jeez, what the blazes are you blethering about? The will was found, right and proper, in the fella's cell where it said it would be. But how can that be? Where in his cell? We all searched the place from top to bottom. Well, you didn't do a proper job, you peely-wally galoot. You can't criticize me now. I should have TR4, did I know, young lawyer? Yes, you did. I have the document here. It's written in Japanese and reads, The Last Will and Testament of Genshin Asugi. Which means everything is as it should be. Not quite, my lord. You see, there's an undeniable inconsistency here. What inconsistency? Mr. Asugi described this document as the only weapon he had left. And yet this will contains nothing of significance at all. Nothing that would have given the convict any leverage. Are you suggesting, my learned friend, that the last will and testament stored at Barclay Prison all these years is actually a fake? As has clearly been demonstrated already. What went on at Barclay Prison was far from above board. Everything was fabricated. That last vilification by the defense was an affront to the entire British legal system. This absurd notion of a weapon is something for which we have only the former Chief Warder's word. The man could quite easily be lying, or at the very least sorely mistaken. What? No! I definitely heard him say that, I swear! Clearly we need to get to the bottom of this. We need to know exactly what happened with these so-called Asagi papers. A waste of time. If the will was fake, where is the real document?
Objection!
Mr. Vigil was stabbed in the back by the judiciary 10 years ago. He lost everything. Very nearly his own life. And now you're going to do it again. You're ready to brand him a liar and turn your back on him without even letting him defend himself. It's clear that Barclay Prison is hiding something.
It's clear that the jailbreak was masterminded by somebody in the prosecutor's office.
It's clear there's some illicit negotiation going on. Is your lordship going to gloss over the obvious and reprehensible facts? What did you say? We should hear more from the Chief Warder.
Have him testify again!
The trial must go on. The man's voice must be heard. It would seem that a vocal few here are utterly blind to the truth. Very well then. Let the witness testify again. Tell the court precisely what you think you saw of the convict's last will and testament. Yes, sir, my lord. Witness testimony. The Asagi papers. Ooh, how much time? Alright, I don't know how many more testimonies they're gonna give, but we'll do this testimony. As the warder responsible for condemned convicts, I attended to Mr. Asagi and kept watch over his cell. The night after he was found guilty in court, he was doing something with that will in his cell. We turned the cell inside out looking for it after the execution, but to no avail. Only found out about the Asagi papers when the directive came telling me to impound them. The document was in the folds of the fellow's robe that was left in his cell. The kimono, I think it's called. In his kimono? That's a lie! We searched every inch of the man's cell. We looked through all his clothes. It can't be true. Well, you're not satisfied with calling me a liar once, say you wee waffinger. Oh, there's nothing you can do about it now. You don't have any hold over me anymore. Other than that hold, you like to take on my cravat, of course. Is that what you're going to do, is it? These two. Are you going to give me a good shake again, or are you too scared? Oh, these two are killing me. Little and large, what a double act. We compiled with Asagi's will as far as was possible. All of his personal effects were delivered to his family home in Japan. As a courtesy to the homeland of the most notorious killer a country has ever seen. And we were much obliged. I can confirm that all my father's belongings arrived safely. Oi, and you cannot deny that handwriting is that of your old man, eh? Yes, there's no mistaking that it's my father's brushwork. Okay, so it's not fabricated. Really? And this last will and testament was the man's last weapon, was it? Okay, so maybe it was his words, but maybe this was only part of the papers. Maybe there was more. I think we can safely assume the convict was merely prattling, knowing that his end was nigh. So, counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, please. Yes, my lord. The Asagi Papers. So who was responsible for condemned convicts? I attended to Mr. Asagi and kept watch over his cell. The night after he was found guilty in court, he was doing something with that will in his cell.
Hold it!
And he pleaded with you not to report him, didn't he? Yes, that's right. And like the Bampatjar you didn't tell me, blatant breach of trust that was. I could see that man was a noble spirit. Had a noble spirit. I found myself wanting to treat him accordingly.
But according to what you told us 2 days ago, the convict had been strictly forbidden from having any writing materials whatsoever.
Yes, you're quite right. So when exactly was the will penned? That was before the man was remanded in Barclay, obviously. Yes, at the prosecutor's office under supervision of the relevant authorities. I personally instructed Asagi to make a will for the benefit of his family in his homeland. Okay, so that's that will. Got it. Got it. Got it. In that case, why was it found in his cell? What do you mean by that? Yeah, there we go. Well, if it was penned at the prosecutor's office, you would have expected that it would remain there for safekeeping, surely. It's curious. There doesn't seem to be any obvious explanation for why it was subsequently found in the convict's cell. Oh, Quill. The defense makes an astute point. Well, Governor. A prison governor can I be expected to ken the inner workings of the prosecutor's office? In that case, Lord Strongheart, perhaps you can shed some light on the matter? I didn't think that. I am unable to offer an explanation here and now. I have one! He had a second will and testament! The real Asagi Papers. I would have to consult with the notary responsible for the will at the time. The fact that my father's will was discovered in his cell is clearly inconsistent with what was expected. I want to know why. Another inexplicable mystery, then. Well, the thing is about that will. We turned the cell inside out looking for it after the execution, but to no avail. They found out about the Asagi Papers when the directive came telling me to impound them.
Hold it!
And that directive came from the same source as the one instructing you about the jailbreak? Aye. From the top levels of the prosecutor's office. What name was on it? He would have said. If he wanted to say, he would have said. I didn't ken before, and I didn't ken now. All I can tell you is that my orders were to do everything in my power to find that document. The directive said it had to be somewhere inside the fellow's cell. Document? Was that the wording? Document? Not will? Oi. That's what it said. Am I clutching at straws here? I just wonder if it was really Genshin Asagi's last will and testament that the sender of that directive was after. Nah. Nah. Continue with your testimony then, witness. The document was in the folds of the fellow's robe that was left in his cell, a kimono, I think it's called.
Hold it!
In Mr. Asagi's kimono? Aye, the one he'd brought with him when he was locked up. Yes, he was permitted to have his personal effects with him during his incarceration, I understand. It's alright. He was granted as much freedom as possible during the few days before his execution. Indeed, he had a number of items of personal significance, I remember. He was very reluctant to part with them. Some books, that kimono, his sword. What do you mean he was allowed his sword? What do you mean? They're like, yeah, mass murderer who, mass serial killer, wiped out a bunch of nobles. He's not allowed pen and paper, but he can have his sword. What? His sword. Karama, the famous sword of the Asagi clan. It bears the soul of my family. I don't doubt it, but I wasn't really getting at that. Forget it being the soul of the clan. Could the man have had a more obvious weapon? Have some respect, Ranosuke. Respectful silence? The warders carry firearms at all times, and the inmates have shackles around their ankles. He couldn't have hurt anybody with that thing. Still, he was allowed a sword, but no writing materials? Thank you! Aye. He wrote that will before he came to stay with us at Barclay, you see. Dr. Mikatoba was asked to bring the necessary Japanese writing implements to the prosecutor's office.
A Suzuri inkstone, black sume ink, and some Hanshi rice paper, no doubt.
I was present when he wrote it, but I'm sorry to say, the letters just looked like a squirming mass of jet black earthworms to me.
Excuse me.
Are you feeling faint, Mr. Vigil? Mr. Vigil! Sir! It was Scarlet, sir! Scarlet. What? Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to blurt it out like that. What? Less swaying and more explaining would be helpful.
Is it something about the testimony we just heard? Have you recalled something of importance?
Something of importance? Possibly, or possibly not.
I'm unable to tell which way he's leaning, I'm afraid.
My lord, the defense asked that Mr. Vigil be permitted to supplement his testimony with this possibly or possibly not important detail. Permission granted. Go ahead, Mr. Vigil. Yes, it was Scarlet. As I remember, the document was written in scarlet ink, but perhaps I'm mistaken. Do we... That sounds vaguely familiar. Okay, go through all the evidence again. Something about scarlet... I feel like I remember something about scarlet ink. Oops. No. Chief Warder Daily Vigil is relieved of his post with immediate effect for having violated clause of that 32. Aiding and abetting the escape. The details of the escape are still being investigated. Indications are that the jailbreak plot was conceived prior to the convict's incarceration. Believe that the convict engaged in some form of negotiation with prison staff in order to secure assistance. No, nothing there. I feel like I remember something about Scarlet. No. Oh! There it is! Additional notes. Recent scarlet ink stains visible on the little and ring fingers of the right hand, but no document in corresponding ink was found. So, Clint Van Zeeks wrote something? What? What?
Objection!
Scarlet-colored writing is what you said you thought you saw, Mr. Vigil? And I believe that's exactly what you did see. Well, Heavers again. You've no evidence to say that. Have a look at this report. That's my brother's autopsy report. Yes, and there's something in here that's bothered me since I first read it. It states that scarlet-colored ink stains were noted on the fingers of the victim's right hand. Yes, so it does. Scarlet ink. Now, I'm not familiar with the habits of the British aristocracy, I freely admit. But I would hazard a guess that they don't all go around with ink stains on their fingertips, do they? Your wit is not appreciated. My brother was a well-bred and fastidious man. Should ink have sullied his fingertips, he would have cleaned them immediately. What is your point, counsel? My point is this. Whatever Lord Clint Van Zeeks was writing in that unusually colored ink, it must have been directly before his death. Because he died before he had the opportunity to clean his hand. What? I remember something troubled me at the time. At the scene, the lid of my brother's inkwell was open. But Clint was punctilious about such things. It seemed unusual. And no document penned in the color of the ink that was in the inkwell was ever found. All these documents keep getting hidden. So the document had disappeared. Are you suggesting that the document my father had in his hand that night in his cell was the same document that Lord Clint Van Zeeks was writing moments before his death? Then it was... If Mr. Vigil's testimony is to be believed, it can only mean that yes. Mr. Vigil? Sir! When you spotted Mr. Asagi with the document in his cell, his precise words were as follows, were they not? Right then. But what's on that paper? A last will and testament. A last will and testament. Not his last will and testament. Clint Van Zeeks' last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. Oh. A last will and testament? If the conversation really did go as Mr. Vigil says, then what we now know completely changes the meaning of what Mr. Asagi said. Oh. You really think that? Mr. Vigil did indeed see the convict with a will, but it wasn't that of Genshin Asagi. So how did he sneak it in? If it was written before. And they would have confiscated any writing materials he had. It was the last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zeeks. What?
Objection!
This is madness. My brother's last will and testament? That would mean that he had chosen to die. That is what it would mean, yes. What? No, impossible. That is utterly out of the question.
Lord Van Zeeks.
Clint was pursuing the professor, consumed him day and night. Whatever happened, he would never have abandoned his investigation before its conclusion. Never. He wouldn't rest until the job was done, until the killer was caught. The idea that he would willingly accept his own death is obscene.
Objection!
And yet, we can be sure that he was writing his will moments before his death. And that Genshin Asagi came to be in possession of that document. So, what could the will possibly have contained? clearly something that couldn't be made public under any circumstances whatsoever. Because armed with that document, my father was able to negotiate with the judiciary for his life. It was something so damning that it prompted the powers that be to enact that daring jailbreak plot. Yes, there could be no question that the will contained information of the utmost secrecy. Information of the utmost secrecy? No, it couldn't be. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I've heard more than enough. Pursuing this notion of a phantom will nobody can attest to having seen serves absolutely no purpose.
Objection!
No, my lord. That's unacceptable. What did you say, counsel? The last will and testament that Genshin Asagi had in his possession was that of Lord Clint Van Zieks. All the testimony evidence presented in the court has logically led us to that as a possibility. We have a duty to pursue the line of reasoning to its conclusion. But with no possible means of knowing the contents of the document, there is no line of reasoning to pursue. A reason why Lord Clint Van Zieks, a man of high noble standing, would have chosen death. Information so secret, people in the judiciary would be willing to negotiate the jailbreak of people in the judiciary would be willing to negotiate the jailbreak of a condemned killer. The only explanation that fits those facts is an unthinkable truth that turns absolutely everything on its head. Oh. But it's just too hideous. Oh no!
Mr. Naruhodo. However difficult the situation might become, you work with your client in pursuit of the truth. That's what you resolved to do.
Oh, resolved. Take a shot.
When you entered the courtroom this morning, if I'm not mistaken.
Miss Susato.
So hold your head high and keep soldiering on.
Yes, you're right. 10 years ago, in his final moments, Lord Clint Van Zieks left behind a will. A will that Genshin Asagi was able to use as a weapon to negotiate his escape from prison. In all probability, the details of this will were related to the Professor case. The defense's last statement is mere conjecture. What are you getting at, man? Ranosuke? As soon as these words come out of my mouth, there's no going back. I believe that the last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zieks was in fact a report, an accusation, a confession. My heart wants to say that it's an accusation. My heart wants to say that Clint Van Zieks knew who the professor was at his last moments, and he knew that he was going to die. That's why he wrote it. But with how weird Ranosuke is being about it, I have a feeling it's not an accusation in the traditional sense. Oh no, Clint Van Zieks. Oh, this is gonna hurt if this is the correct answer.
You can do this, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh no. I believe that what Lord Clint Van Zieks actually penned that day was a confession. A confession. Regarding the mass murderer known as the Professor and his true identity.
Objection!
Oh, enough, Counsel. What are you saying? Do you even realize? A confession about the true identity of the Professor. That would mean... Lord Van Zieks, I appreciate this must be hard to take in. But it's the only explanation that fits. The killer that terrorized London a decade ago and became known as the Professor. The man believed to have murdered 5 members of the aristocracy. Wasn't Genshin Asagi at all. No, you can't be suggesting. It was in fact the man believed to have been the 5th victim. Lord Clint Van Zieks himself. Oh. It's finally open, is it? Pandora's box. Oh, the Great Van Zieks family. They've been thoroughbreds of the British judiciary for years.
And Lord Clint Van Zieks, he was a paragon of justice in the capital.
But he was actually a mass murderer? A perpetrator of our atrocities of the vilest nature?
The general public ever found out law and order in this country would be finished.
Breakdown number 3. My brother.
Oh, this is too awful. Poor Lord Van Zieks.
I wonder, though, did he never suspect?
Mr. Naruhodo?
Lord Barrick Van Zieks is a brilliant prosecutor. Is it conceivable that he didn't realize what his older brother really was? Yeah. Order, order, order in the court! Lord Van Zieks. The Professor made use of an enormous hound as his murder weapon. Tell me, did your brother own a dog? Oh no! Yes, he did. Balmung. He was a well-known hunting dog. People called him a giant. I don't believe this. When my brother would go hunting in the forest of the grounds behind the house, he always took Balmung. After Clint's death, the creature passed away too, almost as if he were following his master. He was a magnificent hunting dog, worthy of the jewel-studded collar around his neck. I remember! I was wondering when that was gonna come up, the collar! That everyone got really weird about when we discovered it. A jewel-studded collar? That's right. Though sadly, some years ago now, it was stolen by a thief who broke into the house one night. Yes! A jewel-studded collar stolen by a thief. It so happens that myself and my colleagues have come across such a collar during our time in London. How could you?
There was an old emblem attached to the collar too, made of pure gold.
Selden. Yes, thank you, I forgot his name.
It was topped with a small crown and bore an ornate capital letter B.
What? An emblem bearing the initial B?
Oh my, you know it?
It's the insignia of the Baskerville family. The Baskerville! Baskerville! The Hound of the Baskervilles! What? The Baskerville? Why is that name coming up now? Let's go! Okay, it's all, we're finally getting it. Baskerville. is the family name of my late brother's widow. Oh. That pure gold emblem was an heirloom, which Clint acquired upon their marriage.
The Hound of the Baskervilles.
There can be no doubt, then. The collar you've described was Balmong's.
The family insignia of Lord Clint Van Seeks' widow?
There was a considerable amount of blood on the collar when we saw it. Since we know the dog was used for hunting, it could have been from its quarry, of course. But it could equally have been from human prey. Oh, so is it true, then?
Clint Van Seeks really was the professor.
Impossible! These Japanese are making it all up to exonerate their own. So in fact, the person responsible for these murders of nobles and royals was a noble himself. And that threatened to be an enormous scandal that would irrevocably destabilize British society. My father knew that and was using it to negotiate his way out of the unjust charges brought against him. But at the very last hour, those he bargained with betrayed him, slaying him mercilessly on foreign soil. Well, can you deny it, Lord Strongheart? 10 years have passed, and still now the 6 million inhabitants of our great capital rest easy, believing that justice was done. That though his anonymity remains, the diabolical murderer was caught and executed. Very well, then. You may have the truth. Well, I think that's a great cliffhanger to leave off on, so that's gonna bother me, leaving it off there, but I'm starting to get sick, so I need to go lay down. But, thank you guys so much for joining me on stream today. I'm starting to not feel good, so I'm going to end up here before we get too deep into what's going on with Clint Van Seeks W stream. Thank you! Thank you for the lurk, Matt. I always appreciate it. Oh, man. Tomorrow, I lurk stream and all I got was this t-shirt. Tomorrow, I will be back with the actual finale. No matter what, we are beating this game tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Wednesday? We're beating this game tomorrow. For sure. I'm gonna stream until we beat it. I don't care. And Thursday, we will do the little extra episodes, the accolades. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for being here. It's been fun, and I'll see you guys next time. Sending you off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye bye.